All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome to our Thursday Fives at Fives with Audio Advice and Klipsch. Thanks for tuning in. We see folks from all over the country and even all over the world. So we're really excited that you guys are spending part of your Thursday afternoon here on the East Coast. It's 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us right before the holiday weekend. Here's what you can expect for the next hour. We're going to be talking about all things the Fives. So Klipsch's high-performance, brand new powered speakers that launched just a couple of weeks ago back in June. We had a great kickoff about a month ago. We had a lot of great questions, so we decided to do this again. In addition to talking about all things the Fives, we're going to be giving away some really cool gear. If you've joined the Audio Advice June giveaway, we're going to be announcing the winner of our Klipsch Fives winner for the month of June. So stay tuned. We're going to be announcing that. You can pick between either color. In addition to that, we're also going to be giving away another pair of the Fives our friends at Klipsch have provided based on the questions that you guys are submitting. So you guys can submit questions either via either platform, Facebook, YouTube. We can see those coming in. We're going to pick the best question, and we're going to be giving away a pair to the person who provides the best question over the next hour that we're going to try to get to. We're going to try to get to as many of those as possible. And lastly, a third giveaway that we're going to be doing is for those of you who have purchased a pair of the Fives over the last couple of weeks since they launched, we're going to be giving away a great sub that will perfectly complement the Klipsch Fives. So you've got a lot of great questions, a lot of great content, and of course, some really cool giveaways over the next hour that we're going to get to. So again, thanks again for joining us. We've got a great panel that I'm going to introduce here, several folks who are rejoining us, and then some special guests that we want to introduce. So again, don't forget to submit your questions below, and we're going to try to get to those. So first, let me welcome back Leon Shaw. Leon is our founder and chairman at Audiophile. Leon, welcome. Tell us, I guess, first off, tell us what you're drinking here today during our happy hour.
I picked a local Raleigh beer my kids got me for Father's Day. It's a Brewery Ravana Pithy IPA.
There you go. Cool. And Leon, you started Audio Advice a little over 40 years ago, right? Back in 1978. Tell us a little about how you decided to come up with starting Audio Advice back then.
Well, that's the story. So you guys ready for it?
Yes.
So went to Wake Forest University in the early 70s, really got into stereo then. I bought one mail order. It sounded terrible. So I started reading about how to make them sound better. So I became a campus rep selling stereos, graduated with an economics degree, decided I didn't want to work for a bank. And I sold stereos for a year to get it out of my system, then go to work for a bank, like all good economists did. And came to Raleigh because there were 19 stereo stores, and went to work for Sam Goody's. And I noticed all the stores in town, including Sam Goody's, was if you go into them, they were just basically trying to sell you what they had in stock. They weren't really asking the person questions about what they really needed. And I always did that. And so I decided there's got to be a better way to do this, where you actually find out about the person's room and about the other gear they have and what's best for their system. And that's what led me to start Audio Advice. And it's been a blast. It's about all I've ever done. And it's been a ton of fun.
It is a ton of fun. So Audio Advice, obviously, we have two stores in Raleigh and Charlotte, North Carolina. So if you're in one of those two locations, or you're passing through on the way to the beach or the mountains, feel free to stop in on by. We obviously have the Fives on display, as well as all of the Klipsch Heritage speakers across both of our stores. And obviously, we have a nationwide e-commerce website that we're really excited about. So if you need any help, we'd love to be your go-to destination for all things high-performance home audio. We have some of the most knowledgeable folks in the industry available for you, whether it's via phone, email, chat. We offer 2-day free shipping. So we'd love for you guys to check us out. If you're not familiar with Audio Advice, please stop on by. So Leon, a couple other quick questions. What was the first concert that you remember going to? Your first concert?
Oh man. Oh yeah. Three Dog Night. My dad took me. I was 12 years old, and I remember it was so loud. I sat there with my hands in my ears the whole time. But it was a great show.
And what was the last concert that you went to prior to the shelter in place a couple months ago?
Last live music or last big concert?
Either one.
Last big concert, we took my oldest daughter and her boyfriend down to Florida to see the Stones. It was an 8-hour drive each direction, but it was great.
Was it worth it?
Yep. Oh yeah, no question.
Awesome.
I didn't have my hands over my ears then. I was liking it loud.
What was so you were obviously one of the first in the country, or maybe the first in the country, who was able to listen to a pair of the fives outside of the Klipsch organization. So what was the first track that you listened to on the fives, and tell us a little bit about what stood out to you?
Well, I actually had to play in the background first, not paying attention to anything, breaking them in, and that's when I was blown away by how good they sounded at low levels. But the first serious track is one I use a lot, and being a Stones fan, it's you can't always get what you want. That starts out with a choir, and it's got a French horn in the left-hand channel, and if the system's really good, you can hear the trombone coming in on top of the French horn, which I actually couldn't hear on the fives. I've never heard it on any speaker. It's only on headphones. The spaciousness of that choir, and then Mick Jagger's voice comes in, and you hear all that. It was great. They were really something.
So you've got a full written review. Obviously, we'll link to it so everybody can take a look at that if that's something they want to check out. At audioadvice.com, we'll provide the link. And, of course, you can find the full video review on YouTube. I think we've got close to, maybe 50,000 views on that. So be sure to check that out as well. Mike, thanks again for joining us as well. Same question to you. First, tell us what it is that you're drinking during this happy hour.
Oh, I'm drinking another local beer from Indianapolis. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's the 6 Foot Blonde from Quaffon, right here in Indiana. So
how is it?
It's good. It's delicious.
Well, you were very popular last time. Obviously, folks had a lot of questions, and we're excited to see you back. So first concert that you remember going to?
Man, so this is funny. Leon, you're a Stones guy. The first concert I ever went to was Paul McCartney. I was 10 years old, so we're going to have to battle that out later, Leon. But yeah, it was another, like, my dad kind of raised us on the Beatles, and we went as a family to see Paul McCartney. And he was old then. That was 30 years ago.
What was the last show you saw prior to?
The last show I saw was a Scottish band called We Were Promised Jetpacks. They were at a great venue here. Yeah, Andrew knows. A great venue here in Indy called the Hi-Fi. And they put on a great show, and that was just a couple weeks before all the nonsense hit.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be coming back to you with quite a few questions. Obviously, you're senior product manager with Klipsch, and obviously very involved in the R&D of the five. So we're going to be coming back to you here shortly.
Cool.
A couple of special guests that I think everyone's going to love hearing from, Angie Robinson and Craig Woolard. So Angie, we'll come to you first. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Tell us, you obviously have the YouTube channel Recovering Audiophile. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got that started and what it is that people can find when they go there?
Yeah, so I've been an AV journalist since I was 19. I've been writing reviews, and then what was it, a little over a year ago, as a kind of a goof, my wife and I, or my now wife and I, we made a video called Vinyl Sucks as a joke, and it went viral. And so we kind of just kept at it. And did you lose me?
Looks like the video froze. I think we're all still getting the audio, but video.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what happened there. Hold on. That fix it? No. Anyway, sorry.
If you want me to do this, why don't we go to Craig really quick? If you want to be back out and then jump right back in, maybe we'll see if that fixes it, if that's cool. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Sorry about that. So yeah, we did Vinyl Sucks and went viral, and we thought, let's see what happens if we keep at it. And as we got to talking about it, I wanted to do reviews differently than how they'd been reported in print for at least the entirety of my career. I think that this hobby should be approachable and not elitist. So we tend to take an everyman sort of view of things. We talk about the performance and the livability of products and how we try and show them how they're actually implemented, as opposed to, I think, a lot of other channels like to talk about how things are in a perfect environment, and we live in imperfect environments. We live in imperfect worlds. And frankly, we don't all have $1 million systems, even though maybe on chat rooms we try and sound like we do. Yeah. And so we just take a real world approach to the hobby, and we try and include as many people as possible. And we talk about all things from super affordable all the way up to, cost no object. And the whole Recovering Audiophile kind of name came about because, yeah, for like 20 years, I just kept chasing this dragon. Like right around the corner, there was always something better, and I never really allowed myself to be happy. Because as soon as I would find something, then very next day I would start to question whether or not it was, good enough. And so, yeah, I've gotten off the hamster wheel and just try and enjoy myself.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. You've got a great channel. I've definitely checked out quite a few myself. I've been following it pretty closely. So first same question to you. First concert that you remember going to growing up?
First concert that I remember going to was Chicago at the Exarban Fairgrounds. Yeah, I got drugged to that, and then I think after that it was Elton John and Billy Joel. I saw them a couple of times together.
Nice. What about the last one?
Last one was ACL, I think. Austin City Limits Music Festival, like a weekend deal.
Yep.
It was supposed to be Keene, but that got canceled right around the time that the shutdown started.
Yeah.
I'd been waiting for Keene for like 10 years, and then it got canceled.
Oh, man. Leon, somebody left it in the comments. They said, laugh out loud. I'm working at a bank right now. So we'll show them some empathy.
Go to a Stones concert.
And Craig Woolard, we are glad to have you. So we thought we'd bring someone who obviously also knows very much about music firsthand, lead singer of the Embers. So thanks again for joining us. We're glad to have you today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So tell us, for those listening who aren't familiar with the Embers, I guess tell us a little about the Embers and how you guys got started.
Embers started in 1958. I'm a member of the Embers at that time. It's a little before my time. I joined in 1906. We became the official musical ambassadors for the state of North Carolina. We had a contract with Anheuser-Busch and played in Honolulu and San Francisco, Chicago, New York for different Budweiser conventions, and have worked, I guess, on an average of 240 dates per year. So when the coronavirus crisis hit, it slammed it shut. And I think my last gig was mid-March.
Yeah, wow.
And since then I have not gigged, but I got one coming up this Saturday. It's a 4th of July show, multi-band outside Burlington, North Carolina at the Piedmont Dragway or Speedway. And it's going to be a drive-in affair where folks drive in, we're performing, they stay in their cars, and they got a low power AM transmitter. We hope they stay in their cars. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I know all of us are, looking forward to the days where we can get back out and enjoy live music. So what is it that you're drinking, first of all?
I'm drinking a Hardywood Raspberry Stout from Richmond, Virginia, because I couldn't get to the Steamboat Brewery Tiramisu Stout from Richmond, Virginia first. So it'll be afterwards.
Andrew, I think I forgot to ask you, what is this that you have?
I am drinking my wife's agave old fashioned.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's good.
Nice. Craig, first concert.
Ray Charles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man, with his big band. I was in the 9th grade, and some upperclassmen musicians drove me over there. So, and the killer thing is, before Ray came on, some guy I'd never heard of named Billy Preston came out for the first 30, 40 minutes and just killed it. And I remember saying to my pals that I was there with, I thought Ray Charles was blind. It's Craig, that's not Ray Charles, that's Billy Preston. So it was just killer, man. We stood around, waited for him to sign our autographs. He finally came out, being escorted by his manager, and stuck out the piece of paper and the pen, said, Mr. Charles, would you just make a mark on this for me? And his manager snatched it out of my hands and said, son, he's blind. I'll sign it for you. What's your signature? So that's my first concert.
So pretty cool story. I believe you were actually on the live stream that we did about a month ago and heard us talking about the Fives, and you were convinced to pick up a pair. So tell us about that experience and maybe what it was like the first time. What compelled you to purchase them, And then secondly, what really stood out to you when you first listened to them, and maybe what track you listened to as you heard them for the first time?
Well, actually, the first thing that forced me to take a look was, Leon, I heard that you had said these are special. And Leon is one of those guys that around here, it's like the brokerage. When E.F. Hutton talks, everybody listens, and when Leon says something, you actually, hey, well, this must be worth listening to. So I'm telling you, man, they're phenomenal speakers. I can't help but go back to my days of the 6 foot tall audio rack with receiver, amp, equalizer, et cetera, and the giant speakers, and thinking to myself, man, if somebody had this quality of sound out of this tiny little speaker, so I mean, really, I'm in a rave thing about them. I can't say enough about how much I like these speakers. One of my tests for speakers is to put on The Night Fly by Donald Fagen. And when you go to IGY, there's a line in there where Fagen sings, "They say you like Brubeck. I like him. I like your eyes too." And right after he says Brubeck, off to the right channel, you can hear him or somebody going, Brubeck, Brubeck, like a muted trumpet. You can't hear it on anything. You can hear it on these. So that's one of the best recommendations I can give. It's a great speaker.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's really cool to hear someone firsthand. And Andrew, I guess you've got a pair now. So tell us, what was the maybe the first track that you listened to as you tested them out, and what stood out to you?
Well, actually, the first thing that I ever heard through them was my own voice, because the first place they went was on my desk. And so I was in the middle of mixing an episode. And they replaced another pair of powered speakers. And then shortly thereafter, I was kind of like, whoa, they're way smaller than my other powered monitors, and they were putting out way more output. So then I went over to Tidal and threw on The Weeknd's I Feel It Coming, the Daft Punk one, and master quality. And wow, my wife came in from across the house and she was like, "Is that the new little bookshelves?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Holy crap, the bass out of those things is enormous." And I said, "Yeah, I don't think that I've ever encountered a power speaker with a 4 and some inch bass mid-range woofer that can extend that low." So then after that, we immediately disconnected them from my office and brought them out here into the main room and fired them up with the TV. And I don't know, we watched 6 Underground on Netflix through them. We watched, we've just been throwing everything but the kitchen sink at them and trying to get them to break. So
awesome. Thanks for sharing that. If you guys have, first concert that you want to share that you think is interesting, you guys can obviously see the comments below, or if there's a great track that you recommend when someone wants to hear, test out a brand new pair of speakers for the first time, put those in the comments as well. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about more. We had several questions from the last happy hour that we had, and then we'll get to a lot of the questions that are being submitted right now, which is great. We appreciate you guys throwing those out there. So some people obviously talked about the bass in the 5s, obviously by themselves, as you guys have certainly spoken to, they sound great. But if you're looking for a sub to go with the 5s, is that something that you think you need? And if so, what sub would you recommend that pairs well with those?
Yeah, to Andrew and Craig's point, I mean, these go deep. They play very low, and they handle bass in a way that's clean and a way that's dynamic. So for music, I saw this come up in the chat. Someone asked, do you need a sub for music? I haven't been using a sub for music listening on these, just straight 2.0 or 2-channel. But if you're using them with a TV, which I'm also doing, absolutely feel free to hook up a sub, and it'll make those 20 to 30 hertz tones come through all the better. Andrew, you got a question?
Yeah, with respect to the sub, I think it does depend on the size of your room.
Sure.
Because
okay, sure.
I envision people that might be putting these in smaller rooms,
yeah,
smaller to medium rooms. in an open concept room like we have, maybe a sub is required, but if you're in a 1-bedroom apartment or something like that, I would maybe argue that a sub still isn't necessary unless you're just feeling crazy.
Cool.
And if you also can't pull them away from the wall, you're going to load that bass up pretty solid. So
and that's how I've got them too, just on either side of my media console, pretty close to the wall. But it's a pretty good sized room, and it certainly holds its own, or they hold their own, low frequency wise.
I would say, if you're an audiophile geek like me, since they do have an active crossover when you engage the sub, unlike a lot of powered speakers, mid-range did open up when I added a sub a whole lot, because you're taking that bass load off the drivers, not having to reproduce the bass. So for me, I thought they sounded even better from the mid-range up with a sub engaged.
Yep.
Fair point.
Yeah.
But I'm the purist audiophile guy in this here, so I'm still chasing that elusive perfect sound edge.
Yeah, Leon's still on the hamster wheel. So I agree with that very much, Leon. I think it's important that that everybody knows, as soon as you hook a sub up to these, they automatically know there's a sub connected to them, and they move that high pass crossover point up into the 80-90 hertz range. So to your point, Leon, it does open up a lot of that mid-range. It does help with the overall output and dynamic range of those speakers. So there's also a really neat technology we're using in these that we actually use in the R51 PM as well. It's called dynamic bass EQ. And actually, I'm gonna I'm gonna share some slides here, Jonathan, because this is too cool to not illustrate. There we go. Dynamic bass EQ.
Hang on 1 second here. Did you click share screen?
How's that?
There you go.
Cool.
Here you go.
Cool. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, so dynamic bass EQ. This is a DSP feature, meaning it's all done inside the speaker in the digital domain. But for those of you that aren't familiar with the Fletcher-Munson equal loudness curve, these two guys, Fletcher and Munson, back around the turn of the century, the last century, did a study where they essentially tested human hearing across the frequency band. And I don't want to get too technical, but they found that humans are less sensitive to low frequencies. And that makes sense, right? Like, we're used to running from predators. Well, we aren't, but our long ago ancestors were. We are very in tune to when babies cry. You know, we want to make sure that we are caring for our young. So when babies cry, that's our ears are especially sensitive to that. So the Fletcher-Munson equal loudness curve essentially says that humans don't hear low frequencies very well, especially at lower listening levels. So what the dynamic bass EQ does, it actually boosts the low frequency response below about 80 hertz to match up with that sort of equal loudness curve that we talked about. So even at lower listening levels, it gives you extremely rich, extremely dynamic bass. Whereas with most passive speakers or even powered monitors that don't have this technology built into them, when you're, especially at low listening levels, you get very thin sounding playback, you get very tinny, lackluster sound at low listening levels or background listening levels. So it's important to keep that in mind. You can turn this off. Leon, who's a traditionalist, probably turned it off. So if you're an audiophile, if you're a recovering audiophile, then you might want to turn it off just so you have the more pure sound of your source material. But
it sounded better at low volumes with it on, though.
Yeah, and I've got them turned, or I've got dynamic bass EQ turned on mine as well. So again, very cool feature to have.
Several folks are asking us about the design of the files. Tell us a little bit about what went into the design.
Man, can I share a screen again?
Go for it.
Dude, I've got, oh, this is great. Man, have we like teed these people up with these questions?
Yeah. Maybe. No, it was right from the stream here.
I essentially have a presentation that covers all of it. So just in case. So design tenets of the fives. And frankly, this can be thought of as a Klipsch design DNA manifesto, for lack of a better word. But Tony Martin, who's our head of industrial design, has done a ton of research in the last several years about interior design trends, material trends, color trends, and I want to talk about essentially how we've baked those trends down into a design that's still very Klipsch. So for one, this idea of perfection of form belying raw power. So Klipsch is a very technology-forward company. We want to show off the horn-loaded technology. We want to show off the pure power that we put behind every product we do. But there is a portion of the public or our customer base that still wants something beautiful that can live in their home as a piece of furniture. So the idea of perfection of form and material belying raw power is important to us because we don't want to hide that technology. We don't want to sacrifice that performance for the sake of form or for the sake of design. And it's really about amalgamating the two. Tactile materials guide that product journey. You know, we talked, I was on a live stream with some good guys a few days ago. We were talking about knob feel, the idea of the tactile feedback that you get from a product, even if it's not a control knob or a button, just the idea of a product being something you want to touch, you want to experience, and having sort of premium materials, but really tactile materials guiding that product journey. Craig's probably familiar with that product on the right and probably on the left. And then finally, something that's timelessly and unapologetically American, just like Klipsch. You know, we talk about no bullshit. We want no bullshit in our design. We want something that speaks to sort of the American spirit of, what am I trying to say? Being proactive in, and frankly, unapologetic in being the best at what we do. It's really what we want to build on that tradition of what we've been doing for the last 75 years and not be shy about our craft. So that's really where it comes down to the fives on the design DNA side of it. I will say the fives are actually drawn from the heritage line. So acoustically and aesthetically, we have gone back in time to Paul Klipsch's original design 75 years ago and said, what is Paul doing acoustically, or what was Paul doing acoustically? What was Paul doing aesthetically? And how can we work that into these design tenets? So you'll notice the real wood veneer on the cabinet. We apply real wood veneers on the cabinets of all of our heritage products. The sort of angular design, but still having a fairly soft material, very similar to what we do on the heritage side. So aesthetically, with the real wood veneers, the matte painted cabinet on the matte black version, but also these, I'll do this again. I've been doing this for like weeks and weeks now, but these real machined metal user interface knobs and rotary dials. We think that's an important part of the Klipsch legacy. These very premium, high-end materials that we're using, that we've used for the last 75 years, and we don't see a need to change, especially in a market of sort of black plastic boxes. We want something that you can be proud of, and you come home to it every day and say, man, that looks really cool. I'm very happy to have that.
Yeah, they look great. Someone made a comment that they said that their wife would even let them keep them in their family room because of the way that they look. So that's a compliment. Transitioning just a little bit, obviously we've spoken quite a bit about how they sound from an audio perspective, specifically with music, and anybody jump in here. several people have asked, how do they sound? One of the features is that you can use them with your TV in stereo. So tell us a little bit more about how that works. And again, if there's a certain track that you watched while you were testing that out, what stood out?
I mean, I can tell you that for movie watching, even by themselves, whether you want to employ a sub or not, in most rooms, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. They are incredibly full-bodied, considering that they don't have much larger of a footprint than, say, a large soundbar aimed at a 55 or 65-inch TV. I noticed someone else commented, too, about how the HDMI-ARC works with them. It works really well. It's been flawless with our LGs. It had a hiccup with Sony, but I think that's more of an issue with Sony than LG. As
I agree.
Yeah, they for whatever reason have ARC issues.
Yeah.
We watched. Well, I have a whole video on like what home theater demo tracks to do, but lately, there's a torture scene at the end of, not torture scene, but a torture test for systems at the end of Netflix's Six Underground, when the military coup starts, and it's probably about 45 seconds to a minute and a half, and it's all over the map in terms of dynamics, and a lot of speakers will tap out during that sequence, and within reason. You know, if you're trying not to hit 110 dB peaks with these, they really do hold their own quite nicely. So I do see them as a legitimate option to people who may be in the market for a sound bar. So
cool. Yeah, and that's really where the use case intent of the fives came from. You know, there's so much marketing towards powered monitors are great for 2-channel listening. You know, we talk all the time about integrated DSP and allowing or using that technology to get as much low frequency extension, as much balance out of a little 4.5-inch driver as we can. But there really hasn't been, and this is absolutely the case. This is the first powered monitor product on the market with HDMI-ARC. There hasn't been a powered monitor 2-channel system that's really built to be a TV system as well. You know, they've always had optical inputs, analog inputs. You know, some of them have phono, which this does as well. But HDMI-ARC just makes a much more seamless experience.
I'm sorry. With respect to ARC, I just noticed a couple of people were talking about some of the Sony settings. I did notice that with Sony, ARC defaults to an Auto 1 or Auto 2. If you go into the menus and you change that to just PCM and you get rid of all their auto settings, it does function better. It seems like the auto settings in the Sony TVs may be getting confused. So if you run across a television, if it has like an auto and you tell it specifically what to do, I see that helps with situations like this. And then someone else commented, how does it sound without a dedicated center? And that was one of the things that in my review that hasn't gone live yet, but the dispersion, the center imaging characteristics of this particular speaker, never mind that they disappear orally, but the center imaging is really strong.
Cool.
It is. It's amazing. Andrew, I found the same thing. You had to set the Sony the PCM out to get it to lock in well.
Yeah. The LG doesn't have that problem, but the Sony, boy, you better tell the Sony exactly what to do. Otherwise, it gets confused.
Someone made the comment. They said, real men drink stout and porters, and then they buy the Klipsch 5. Maybe shout out to you, Craig. Craig, from your perspective as a professional musician, you know, how do these sound compared maybe to other pro monitors that you've used, and have you used them for that use case?
I have them in my studio next to the monitors that I learned on, and I learned on Genelec 1030As. So they're at least 20, 25-year-old speakers. They are just great. I love those speakers. Some people say that they might be a little too flattering, you know, but take that into consideration. So I have these beside the Genelecs, and I am in the process right now of becoming understanding of what they do and how to hear the 5s like I know how to hear the 1038s. So it's just gonna take a little more experience with them. You know, time is everything. Listen, come to know the speakers. I think that they'll be absolutely as dependable as the 1038s are, as dependable as the Yamaha speakers, NS10s, you know, industry standards. I don't know if these will be an industry standard to the industry, but they will be to me once I get to know them that well.
Cool.
And let me say one more thing. There are some companies that have tower stick PAs, really, you know, tower PAs for small entertainment, and it looks like that's going to be a coming thing here. And I don't want to mention the competition's name here on Klipsch's deal, but if Klipsch could take what they've done in these 5s and incorporate it into a small PA system, there would be no competition. So, you know, I hope you do it. I'll be first in line to buy it.
It's quite a compliment for sure.
And that's a good compliment, Craig.
We have a couple rascally product managers and engineers that have been trying to get that done for a little bit now. So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, the only reason, let me add to that. In 1979, we had a guy come into our band, and he brought with him, he spent a lot of money. He bought a Prophet 5 synthesizer. We bought a CP88 electric piano. He bought, we had 2 TX816 modules with 8 TX7 in each one. And he showed up with this big speaker, and it was called the Klipsch Heresy.
Yep.
Let me tell you what, musicians would come out to see and mostly hear us just to hear that Klipsch Heresy. So there's a long history of Klipsch blowing people's minds, and this is right in line with it.
Cool. If you want to hear the Heresies, come to one of our showrooms. We've got them set up. We'd love for you guys to do a demo.
Those are a reference here.
Yep. What, Leon, maybe talk about your experience listening to them with vinyl. Turntable setup.
They have improved the photo stage a lot. Mike probably knows more about the technicalities. I just know it lets a whole lot more detail out than what was in the earlier versions.
Yeah, one of the questions was obviously is a phono included. So yeah, you obviously
the phono is included, and it is much. Yeah. But they are true to vinyl. They sound very warm, very 3-dimensional. You just want to keep pulling out more records. So I was very impressed. But Mike, I am curious. What did you guys do with the phono stage? What's the improvement?
Yeah, it's just we kind of started from the ground up from the 51 PM. It's just an incredibly low noise, high quality phono preamp. We knew that these were going to be in a different category than the 41 PMs or the 51 PMs. So we really wanted to approach it like you were buying an external phono preamp. Just happened to be built in.
It's low noise, and it's probably on par with a $100 to $150 separate phono preamp, I'm guessing.
Cool.
And several people have asked, how do these compare to some of the other powered speakers, the 6s as well?
Yeah.
So maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah. So there's actually a pretty vast difference between these and the 6s. So the 6s, great speakers. I don't want to disparage the 6s at all because I like them a lot. Larger driver in the 6s, so they go about 10 hertz deeper, but the 5s are actually more efficient. They're about 4 or 5 dB more efficient, actually 6 dB more efficient than the 6s. So you're actually getting about double the loudness out from the 5s than you are from the 6s. Purely, which of course we all know a more efficient speaker makes for a cleaner speaker, less distortion, obviously. So yeah, there are acoustic benefits, even though we have a smaller driver. I'll also say you have universal 192 24-bit decoding on these, or playback on the 5s. The 6s are 96 kilohertz, so 9624, and that's your limit. With these, no matter what your input is, whether it's USB, optical, HDMI, if your source is 192.24, you're getting that 192.24 playback on the 5s, and you actually don't have that on the 6s. And then, of course, we talk about HDMI-ARC so much. We don't have HDMI-ARC on the 6s. It's purely audio inputs, or I should say analog and optical inputs on the 6s, whereas on the 5s, they're much better tailored to be part of a TV system or a theater system.
Awesome. Hey, let's do our first giveaway. You guys
Cool.
ready to do that? So the first one that we're going to do, I'm going to share a couple of photos here. Whoa. Let's, are you guys able to see this?
Yeah.
We see,
That's some Inception stuff.
Can you see the slides now?
yeah.
Real time here. Trying to figure this out. So we got a couple of real life examples of the 5s that people have shared for those who have already purchased them. So Thomas said, I removed the old 5.1 surround system and don't miss it at all. The 5s just flat out rock with crystal clear voice and instrumental projection. You get what you pay for. So thanks for submitting that.
Cool.
Michael said, I could not express how much I love my new Klipsch, the 5s. Coming from a soundbar and a small subwoofer, my listening experience has vastly improved. Living in a 100-year-old building with a little insulation, the bass is ample enough to piss off my neighbors. That's why we see how much more pissed off they get when I add a sub. Lots of folks have asked, can these piss off the neighbors? So yeah, definitely speaking to that. Not only are there a ton of ways to use these speakers, these always sound great no matter how I connect them, with so many ways to use them. Hear great sound. The 5s looked like a good bet. I'm glad I made the purchase. They sound awesome. Thanks, Matt, for submitting that. And our winner of a sub, and we are doing the R100 for the sub that I think will go perfectly with the 5s, is Christine. We will reach out to you. She said, I'm very impressed with the sound quality of these little speakers. Vocals are crisp and clean no matter the volume, and they look great too, which is important to me. Setup was a breeze. Even for an old lady like myself, they are just perfect. So thanks a lot for sharing that, Christine. You are going to be the lucky winner of our first giveaway, a Klipsch subwoofer, which again will go perfectly. And just for fun, I know, Craig, you've mentioned your setup, so you sent in a photo that we want to share with everyone. And Andrew, you sent in a photo as well. So there you guys can see Craig's setup with his Pro monitors right next to the 5s, and Andrew's as well. So congratulations, Christine. We will be reaching out to you shortly, and congratulations on that. Sorry for that little glitch there.
Congratulations, Christine. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks,
the
everyone.
setup looked really pretty.
That's great.
Couple of more questions. Obviously, we've got a ton of questions, so keep them coming. We're going to get to as many as we can. We've got a little bit more, and then we're going to do our second giveaways here in just a little bit. So do these work with Alexa?
They do not. So that's a very important thing to call out. We wanted these to be, one, killer performance. So we wanted to spend money on the performance. We wanted these to be beautiful fit and finish. So we wanted to spend that money on the aesthetics. And frankly, every time you walk into, not that anyone's walking into a store anymore, but anytime you walk into a retail store, anytime you buy a consumer electronics product online at audioadvice.com, generally there's some discount or some giveaway for an Alexa Dot or a Google Home Mini. And see, mine is going off right now. The prevalence of these things, it's just getting out of hand. And frankly, these are such a good fit for a TV speaker. Everyone has an AI device hooked up to a TV or even built into the TV nowadays. So we didn't really feel the need to clog your media console or your home theater with another Wi-Fi paired device when you probably have a source going into these that already has that capability. Not to say that we wouldn't do that in the future, and we know that it is a highly touted, highly sought after feature, but we wanted to focus on performance, fit and finish with these, and then again, just we didn't think a user would really need one with the amount of Wi-Fi devices in the home these days.
Got it. You guys, you following along? Any questions that are jumping out that you guys want to?
Yeah. So I'm seeing a couple. Ed Hanley asks, "Can I connect the 5s directly to my turntable?" Yes. Absolutely. Has that phono preamp we were talking about. Very high quality preamp. Ryan, do I have to be an audiophile to enjoy these? No. No. An audiophile will appreciate them, but you certainly don't have to be one. Of course, if you want to become one, we would very much appreciate that, and we would welcome you into the fold.
Well, I think there were some comments that have been made about, hey, if I'm not an audiophile, but I'm a music enthusiast, is this the right product for me? And I probably would admit that I fall into that category, right? I'm certainly very passionate about music, but wouldn't necessarily consider myself an audiophile, but I've obviously given these a listen quite a bit and absolutely love them. So some people asked about the cable. One, there's a unique cable, and how long is the cable, and are there some other alternatives coming down the road?
So yeah, the cable is about 10 feet long. It is a proprietary cable. It's a 4-conductor cable. It's not traditional speaker wire, and we did that because both speakers are biamped. So we're actually sending 2 channels of amplified signal over to the passive side. So we do need a 4-connector cable. We are getting ready.
A huge deal. That's a huge deal. That's why they sound.
Yes. I don't want to minimize that. Thanks, Leon. It's absolutely a huge deal. Part of the reason we're able to get such incredible output and such great extension out of these is because they are biamped. Your question about an alternative cable, we are getting ready to introduce cable extension. So if you do have a space between the speakers of more than 9 or 10 feet, you will have an option available that's just an accessory that you can buy and connect to the existing cable just to make your span that much longer. So keep an eye out for that. It will be available at klipsch.com and audioadvice.com, of course.
Can I make a note about that cable?
Can you what?
Can I say something about that cable?
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the length, but the fact that it's kind of a BNC style like connector and that it locks in place is really a big deal. Biamping and all of that aside, a lot of powered loudspeakers that have everything in one cabinet and then kind of passively power the other speaker, if you will, they rely on some pretty cheap lamp cord, or they rely on, say, like an RCA style cable, and the connections on those sometimes aren't always the best. So I actually really liked the kind of industrial locking pro audio style cable that came with this. I thought it was a really nice touch, and it's the little touches along with like the wood veneer and the tactile nature that you were talking about. Those are the little touches, in my opinion, that make the user experience so different from other powered speakers. Because I think that powered speakers like this are actually the future. They're not kitschy. This is where we're going.
Oh, no question.
Yep.
And it's going to come down to the user experience. It's going to come down to the tactile feel. And so, yeah, the cables matter, but maybe not from that standpoint, but from the standpoint of you feel like the money you have spent has gone to good use and has gone to the right things instead of getting a bunch of just thrown in junk.
Yeah, these are, so I don't know if you guys can see these, but these are the sort of proprietary cables that you mentioned, about 10 feet. And again, coming out with an extension down the road. If you've got
they're keyed in, so you can't connect them incorrectly. It's got a little slot.
Yeah.
And you tighten them down. And
there you go.
But yeah, Craig's Genelecs that he has as a reference, they're active as well. Yeah, they've got separate amps for the woofers and tweeters, and that's how these are. And that just is what makes them sound so wonderful.
Transition a little bit. Several people have asked about Bluetooth, related to maybe to the audiophiles, thinking that Bluetooth maybe isn't quite up to the standard as being directly connected. But tell us a little bit about the Bluetooth with these, how it works, and maybe how it compares to some of the other source options.
Yeah, good question. So we're actually using the newest Bluetooth 5.0 chip, and actually in that we are using AAC, which is sort of the high-res codec for iOS. Apple products, iPads and iPhones. And we're also using aptX HD, which is the newest sort of high definition, high res codec for essentially all the other devices, Android devices. And aptX HD is a huge feature to have. So not only does the Bluetooth 5.0 chip give us a little bit better coverage or a little bit better connectivity, it also improves the battery life of the connected sources. So much better than last generation Bluetooth. It's much more efficient data transfer. So your battery will actually last longer if you have a Bluetooth 5.0 enabled device. But not only do you have all of those benefits of Bluetooth 5.0 with AAC and especially aptX HD, you're getting a much more high-res listening experience. You know, we talk so much about CD quality sound, and even what they're doing on Bluetooth now is so far above and beyond CD quality that yeah, I think especially for the music appreciation crowd, I should say, not the audiophiles, this is going to be head and shoulders above what you're used to in wireless Bluetooth streaming.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's listen to it. Had a question. They said, can these be laid on the sides instead of upright? If so, will that impact the sound?
So I actually wanted to ask Craig about that. Craig, you using them as sort of near field monitors in a recording setup, do you have them placed vertically or do you have them placed horizontally?
They're vertically, just like my JLX.
Cool.
Yeah. It's just how I have them.
Yeah, you absolutely can put them horizontally to answer the question. It is a 90 by 90 horn, so it's totally symmetric. Really the only reason I would recommend with any speaker to not put them horizontally is if it creates some sort of asymmetry with the high frequency dispersion, which this obviously doesn't. So yeah.
I tested them very briefly on their side. I didn't find the sound to change too much. One thing that I would caution people against, the bottom of these have a cork matte type substance on the bottom for good purchase on a stand.
They do.
That is obviously not on the sides. So if you are going to place them on a surface, I would recommend some type of isolation. Just, you don't want to mess up the wood finish, anything like that, but it also will kind of do the same thing that is attempting to do. And with the amount of bass output that these have, you'd want something that has a little tactile feel so they're not going to start to move around.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Andrew.
Yeah, great point.
If you rattle them off your desk, that's not covered under the warranty. So keep that in mind.
Someone did ask about warranty real quick, just so everybody's comfortable there.
Yeah, so warranty on the drivers themselves, essentially the acoustic portion, is 3 years. Warranty on the amplifier is 1 year.
I'm sorry, real quick. Dan just wrote in, can these be used in proximity to a gaming PC? I had mine for a bit, like right on either side of my iMac, and they work great.
Cool.
So I don't. That answers that question.
Yeah, great use case. I mean, one of the things that's so great about these speakers is just the, there's so many different ways that you can use them functionally wise, right? Well, how would you compare these to maybe like a 2-channel setup, something like the RP600s, or I'm sorry, the 600s,
yeah.
Or with those? Yeah.
Oh, do you have them, Andrew? Andrew, you take that one since you obviously are very familiar.
Yeah, no, we were in the middle of reviewing the 600s, and then these showed up and derailed everything. Look, the 600s are a special speaker. They really are. The 600s will go and be as good as you want them to be, and as much effort and work as you're willing to put into them. The 600s will play louder with more authority, provided you have the right amplification for them in larger rooms. And so I don't consider these a replacement or equal, but if someone doesn't want to get too involved with needing to pick out the right electronics and worry about things like that, a lot of the guesswork has been taken out of the equation for you with with these. And so as a result, you kind of only have to focus on maybe what do you want to listen to, which I think a lot of people I think that's really what they're looking for. You know, I know a couple people in this chat have commented that, you know, if you're not an audiophile, if you are an audiophile, and it's like, I kind of hate that term. Sorry. Because there's no substitution, or there's no excuse or getting around just a good product. Is a product good? Does it make you want to listen more? Does it make you want to use it? And I don't care if that product costs $10 or $10,000. It's all the same, because you can spend all the money you want on separates and stacks and cables and this, and you can chase whatever the so-called hi-fi or audiophile ideal is. But if you don't ever want to use it, or if it's too complicated, or it's you know, threatening, that may not be the right word, but it doesn't matter. Then you didn't achieve anything. And the one thing that I like about the fives, the one thing that I like about our the threes, the all-in-one thing, is it just, you want to use it. They're approachable. There's something about them that feels familiar, and as a result, they get used. And you know what you enjoy? You enjoy the speaker that's playing. You really do. And you can sit there and try and compare things after the fact, but in the moment, the only speaker that you're enjoying is the one that's playing. And if this is the one that's playing, guess what? It's magic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very well.
A couple more quick questions. Believe it or not, we're getting close to the hour. Time's flying by. So, who would be the ideal customer for these speakers? What's sort of the ideal use case? I know they're very flexible, but who are these designed for in mind?
Man, they are designed for someone that wants a better sounding solution than a soundbar. They're designed for someone that wants an easy to use, high performance 2-channel system. They're designed for someone that wants to dig all their vinyl out of the attic and put it back on. Yeah, I can.
And for anyone who just loves music,
yeah,
I mean, that's what they are. They get you into the music. When you listen to these, your foot is tapping.
What's the ideal? Several people have asked Craig. Obviously, the fives behind you, that was more just so people could see those in the video. What's ideal spacing? You know, if you're getting a pair of fives.
I've always gone by the rule that as far as they are apart, it's an equilateral triangle for me to listen in a studio monitoring situation. So that's what I have.
I agree. That's how I liked them too.
Yeah.
About equilateral.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else, Andrew, Mike, any other additional thoughts, or maybe, you know, based on the environment of the room?
I just think for me, if your room is on the larger side or you have an open concept, they're not going to do as well. But I think most people with moderate sized rooms are going to be fine. Ours are in our main living room setup. We're about 7.5 feet or so apart, and we sit about close to 9 feet or so away. And we got great stereo imaging, especially with a little bit of toe in. But I found that they worked very well in the near field as a desktop as well, provided that you have proper isolation. My desk happens to be glass topped, so that cork does help tamp down on the potential for vibrations. And yeah, I don't think you need to be afraid of doing something wrong with these types of loudspeakers. I think they promote experimentation, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Craig and Leon, like, I would professionally and personally totally buy into the equilateral triangle. I mean, that's sort of industry gospel at this point. But yeah, we're in a similar position where we've got them maybe like 7 or 8 feet apart, but we're a good 11 or 12 feet back from the TV. And yeah, still
so you're about a 2-3 ratio. The 2-3 ratio still works too.
Yeah. But yeah, towed in just a tad, especially with horn loaded speakers. You want a little bit of toe in to get that optimal sound staging.
Last technical question. Several people have asked what brand of DAC chip is used in the fives. So
I'm gonna say that's a little bit of a secret sauce.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, we don't like to give too much of that away.
All right, fair enough. Well, guys, this has been a ton of fun. I think this has been great. Obviously, tons of questions. We've got enough to last at least another hour or more. So thanks to everyone who has joined in and asked a ton of great questions. And we'll continue answering many, many more of them I think several folks asked about Craig's setup. We can post that on our Instagram. If you follow us on Instagram, we'll show a photo of that, as well as some of the other submissions that you guys can take a look at. So, Mike, I'm going to let you off the hook. Brittany took care of this one for you. So, and a big thanks to a lot of the folks behind the scenes. You guys can tell that there's a lot of folks behind the scenes pushing all the right buttons, so this went off seamlessly. Taylor and Heather on our side, and Brittany and Jill on the Klipsch side, and a number of other folks. So thanks for all their help. Brittany's winner for a pair of 5s is Rafael Rodriguez, who was one of the folks who asked about the question about who these speakers were really designed for.
Oh yeah.
Vinyl, soundbar, just looking into getting into music or getting introduced to Klipsch. So congratulations, Rafael Rodriguez. You are the winner of a brand new pair of 5s. You can pick a pair either color. So congratulations. And then the winner for the June giveaway from Audio Advice. Congratulations to Richard B in Florida. Congratulations. You are also the winner of a brand new pair of 5s. We will reach out to you and get those shipped out to you right away. Congratulations. This has been a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. The 5s, one of the products that we've been incredibly excited about launching, and thanks to Klipsch for picking us as their exclusive partner. And again, if you want to learn more about audio, please check out audiovice.com. We have some of the most knowledgeable experts in the industry that are available: phone, chat, email. Please check us out. Andrew, how can people find you if they want to continue to learn more about some of the work that you're doing?
We're on YouTube. You can find us on social media at Recovering Audiophile on Instagram, the robinsonbrand.com website, and then YouTube, of course. Our review of the 5s is coming out on Sunday. So check that out.
Be sure to check that out. And Craig, how can people find more about the Embers?
You can go to theembersband.net on the World Wide Web, or you can find us on Facebook, or you can find Craig Woolard on Facebook.
Awesome. And hopefully we can see you guys in person again sometime soon. So I think we're all eager to get back out there and enjoy some live music. Thanks again, everyone. Enjoy a great holiday weekend and have a great July 4th. And we will see you again next time. Lastly, we're going to put out the link to our new giveaway for the month of July. So be sure to check that out. We're going to be posting that now, and you guys can join that. So thanks again, guys, and have a great weekend.
Thanks guys.
Everybody. Thanks, guys.
See you.